what is Hanuman Chalisa exactly, and what is the right way to recite it?
So Hanumanji approach towards life is very interesting. He tells people, you don't disturb around. Holding on to something is easy, but if you want to grow to the next level, you have to let go. There was a survey done in the UK. 65% of people, employees in the UK, had fantasies of killing their boss.
That survey kind of shocked me also.
The moment Bhrigu kicked Vishnu on his chest, Lord Vishnu got up from his seat, Bhrigu was zapped. He was just amazed because prayers are not only meant for making requests.
Wonderful, Prabhuji.
Everybody in this world will come across people who are provokers, who are going to provoke you just to see how you react.
Absolutely right, Prabhuji. Many people ask this कि chanting करने से क्या होगा? So then, what is the benefit of chanting exactly? I've heard this saying which says that Ram se bada hai Ram ka naam. So the name of the Lord is even greater than the Lord himself. How important is chanting the name of the God? सो हाय एवरीवन, आप सबको सबसे पहले जय श्री राम। ये मेरा पहला पॉडकास्ट है और ये हम शूट कर रहे हैं शुभ विलास प्रभु जी के साथ, जो इस्कॉन में एक ब्रह्मचारी रह चुके हैं, जिन्होंने 30 से भी ज़्यादा बुक्स लिखी है, जिन्होंने रामायण के ऊपर एक सीरीज़ ऑफ बुक्स लिखी है जो नेशनल बेस्ट सेलर हो चुकी हैं। 6000 से ज़्यादा टॉक्स दिए उन्होंने। एक बहुत ही पहुंची हुई व्यक्ति हैं ये। इस पॉडकास्ट में हम बात कर रहे हैं रामायण और महाभारत के कुछ किस्सों के बारे में, जिनको हम हमारे लाइफ में रिलेशनशिप्स के साथ, वर्क प्लेस के साथ, ऑफिसेस के साथ, हमारे आम तौर पर संबंधों के साथ और सोशल मीडिया के साथ भी कैसे इनको अप्लाई कर सकते हैं। ऐसे ऐसे एग्जांपल्स उस टाइप के कैरेक्टर्स की इन मॉडर्न डे प्रॉब्लम्स के साथ दिए गए हैं, जिसमें हम इस पॉडकास्ट में बात कर रहे हैं। ये पॉडकास्ट पूरा ज़रूर देखना, एंड तक देखना। टाइम स्टैम्प्स भी दिए हुए नीचे, जहाँ पे आप स्पेसिफिक चीज़ों को देख सकते हैं जाके इस वीडियो में। और इस वीडियो को साथ साथ शेयर भी कीजिएगा सबके साथ, आपके फैमिली, फ्रेंड्स और सबके साथ जिनको इसकी ज़रूरत होगी। आई एम श्योर इस पॉडकास्ट से आपको बहुत कुछ सीखने को मिलेगा। ऑन दैट नोट, लेट्स स्टार्ट द पॉडकास्ट एंड आई होप यू लाइक इट। जय श्री राम। So firstly, Prabhuji, thank you so much. This is the first podcast I'm ever doing and you're my very first guest. So I'm deeply grateful to you. And just giving a brief introduction about Prabhuji. Prabhuji has an education in patent law after finishing his engineering, but then he decided to pursue the path of being a spiritual seeker. He has a PhD in leadership from Valmiki Ramayana, and his thesis is considered path-breaking in the leadership studies from ancient texts. He has written 30 plus national selling bestseller books, which include some like Ramayana, The Game of Life, and Ramayana being the national bestseller. 30 plus books, including one of my absolute favorites, Open Eye Meditations. He has given 6,000 plus talks, which has inspired 6 lakh and more people. And he's also spoken at world-renowned institutions like MIT, IIT, Google, Microsoft, Amazon, Samsung. Prabhuji, sky is the limit for you, absolutely. So thank you for coming, Prabhuji. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Ujjwal, for being here. I'm happy and grateful to be here with you and looking forward to the conversation.
Yes, Prabhuji, likewise. So, Prabhuji, I'm sure this entire thing must have been a very long and arduous journey for you. So just briefly about yourself, if you can say, how has your journey been and how has it been writing so many interesting books and speaking at so many seminars and just doing the prachar of Hari Bhakti and Ramayana?
I began very early in life. When I was about 16 or 17, I got connected to my spiritual path. I met my teacher. And I was just in the first year of engineering at that time. And I felt very inspired to understand the scriptures a little better. So after my engineering, I kind of took a 6-month sabbatical where I really wanted to find out what is my quest like. So I came and stayed in ISKCON in Bombay almost 6 months, just after my engineering, before I took up a job. And those 6 months actually changed my life completely. And I really felt very drawn towards spirituality. And I went back, completed my law. I worked for about 3 years in an international law firm. And in that phase, I was doing 2 things. I had my 9 to 9 corporate job, really grilling job. At the same time, I would go out and do lectures. Or mostly after my job, 9 o'clock in the night, I would go to hostels and do programs. I'd come back at 12 o'clock in the night. So I was living both the lives. I was living a life of taking. I was drawing a fantastic salary. I was earning a huge amount of money. At the same time, I was living a life of giving. I was sharing knowledge. I was reading and sharing wisdom with youngsters. And when I weighed both, I realized that I'm loving this much more. Then I realized that I prefer a life of giving than a life of taking. So that's when I made that switch. And I actually gave up my job. I lived as a full-time monk for so many years, and in that pursuit, in that duration, I really found my calling. But I realized that I want to make the scriptures relevant for people. And I found that people are really struggling for knowledge. They're really struggling to understand and make out life, whether in the corporate world or whether in universities and schools. I'm finding there is a sense of direction which is missing.
Correct.
And in my study, I found the scriptures have that direction to give the world. So that's when I found my mission. That's when I found my calling, and that's where I've been sticking. So all my books, all my talks are geared in that direction to help people find relevance through the scriptures and find direction in life.
Wonderful, Prabhuji. So, like, it must have been very difficult to, let go of one particular portion of your life to completely dedicate to the other particular portion of your life. So, like, how easy or how difficult has it been for you to let it go? I'm sure, like, my dad told me this one quote very long time ago that, like, when you feel that you're letting go, it may be that you are losing something, but it's only in letting go that you actually gain what you actually want. So, like, how has the experience of letting go been for you? And, like, if you can maybe find some story or some experience from the Mahabharata where somebody had to let something go, and how we can take inspiration from that.
I had to let go many things, many times in my life. After my engineering, I had to decide whether I want to let go of my engineering profession, technical field, or do I want to pursue law. After I finished my law, I had to decide whether I really want to let go of a corporate career. I want to go to live in a monastery with no money and no, practically nothing. And then at some point, I had to decide to let go of certain identities that I had created for myself to see what I can do more for the world. So at every stage, I found the answers coming from the scriptures. Like the Mahabharata itself has so many stories of people who had powerful things, but they had to let go for something better. Like, for example, in the Mahabharata, we find Yudhishthira Maharaj. At one point, he held on to a principle very, very strongly in his heart, which is this principle of always speaking the truth and never telling a lie. But at a particular point in the Mahabharata war, it came to a situation where Yudhishthir had to speak a lie, and he had no option. There was no second way. And at that point, he decided to let go of his principles for something more important, something higher, for the greater good of society. Parikshit, who was a great grandson of Arjuna, who had to also, at a particular point, let go of a very important aspect of his life, which was he had a curse by Shringi that he had to die in 7 days and 7 nights. So now it's not easy for a king to have so much to let go. So in that one moment, he let go of his entire kingdom, his whole identity, and he decided to sit under the feet of a sage and hear something which was important for him at that stage of his life. So all of us in our lives, we will come across certain situations where we have to take decisions. Holding on to something is very easy because that's what we're comfortable with. But if you want to grow to the next level, you have to let go. Because only when you let go, it's like almost holding on to a huge rock. The moment you let go of that rock, you become freer to move further, to go in the right direction. So a lot of us, we hold on to things that are very burdensome for the soul. And simply by letting go, you'll experience freedom to explore more.
Exactly. Yes. That was a very insightful answer, Prabhuji. But there is one thing which sometimes even keeps me from letting things go, and that is, I admit, intense addiction to social media. Like, I am a content creator, so yes, my life revolves around it. But there are times when I'm really scared कि यार I can't go offline. मैं offline नहीं जा सकता. Like, if I go offline, my life will come to a halt. And it's all about the likes. It's all about the comments. Who is saying what? Who is liking what? So that is the one thing. So, like, how exactly can one try to learn from the scriptures, learn from the stories of Ramayana Mahabharata to somewhere put this addiction, this control of social media under control? What can be done, in your opinion?
The world today is revolving around screens. So I always say that today's teenagers are more like screenagers. Some screen or the other.
Okay.
So While screens are a part of life and they're a very important part of life, we can't, give up screens. But at the same time, I personally feel that for us to contribute something meaningful on the screen, online, you have to upgrade yourself. Because a well, for it to give water, it has to fill up also. So if the well doesn't have a source to fill up, what will it give? Similarly, if a human being doesn't have time to fill up, what will he give? There'll be whatever the person gives will be very hollow and shallow, isn't it? So we all have to seek opportunities to fill ourselves up. Like in the Ramayana, we find that Lord Ram, once in a while, he would disappear from Ayodhya. He would not be there anywhere in Ayodhya. And when people would be really desperately looking for him, invariably they would find him in a forest, sitting under the feet of some sages and listening to them. So Ram was contributing so much as a king, but time to time, Ram disappeared so that he could fill himself up and then come back and contribute. Practically every great person in this world who has done so much has spent time filling himself up and then gone. Like, for example, there's a great sage named Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, who founded the Gaudiya Math, did some fantastic contribution to India. But before he began that, he spent almost about 3 years in seclusion, filling himself up, preparing himself. And what he did to prepare himself, that's what he went and contributed. So I always feel that each one of us, of course, we cannot take 3 years off, obviously. I know you cannot take many years off. But I personally feel that we should always have small windows on a daily basis, which are for filling up. So if you can spend every day, maybe an hour or two, off the phones, off the screens, and spend time with books, spend time meditating, spend time journaling, spend time thinking, spend time contemplating, spend time in nature, spend time doing things that calm your mind down, but also give you some food for thought. And I think these are the times where the greatest growth can happen, and these are the opportunities where the greatest transformation on an inner level can happen. And with that transformation, when you approach the world, you'll be able to give something substantial. You'll be able to actually give hope to people and direction.
Wonderful, Prabhuji. But you see, like you mentioned Sri Ram in this particular context, like he always had the support and companionship of Lakshman and Sita ji when they were on exile, and then Hanumanji came, and then Sugriv came, and then so the entire Vanar Sena got together. So, like one thing which I've observed about Sri Ram is that he's very good at making relations and keeping relations. So, like, what is the role of keeping relations? Because I'm a lone wolf, I can say. I have many friends, but I am not in touch with many friends. I can't keep contact with many friends. I have a very good friend of mine, but he's in USA and he comes maybe once in 2 3 years. So, how important do you feel is the nurturing and keeping of relations when it comes to filling yourself as a person, like you just said in the last few statements?
Human beings are relational animals. More than rational animals, they're relational animals. That's why you'll find social media is such a big thing today. Practically, so many new ways of communicating are coming up. So many new messengers are coming up because people are seeking for a relationship that is very deep. So the innate need in every human being is there for seeking meaningful, deep relationships. But most people are not prepared for relationships. That's why people prefer relationships that are online or long distance. The reason they prefer online relationships is because it's easy to control. I can switch off. I can block a person. I can delete a profile. I can do whatever I want because it's in my hand. But the moment you come in front of a person, you're actually dealing with a person, takes much more substance in you to be able to have a meaningful relationship. You can't tell a person shut up. They'll speak more. You can't tell a person, understand what I'm trying to say. They're not going to. So it requires a lot more substance and a lot more inner work for you to be able to connect with people on a realistic and a deep level. And therefore, the scriptures give so many practical advices on how you can take relationships and make them deeper. a very simple thing that I found in many of the Vedic scriptures is the importance of adding the element of appreciation in your relationships. Two people connect very well when they understand the other person respects me and appreciates me. Unfortunately, most of the times what happens is um, the connection between two people is at a very superficial level. And because it is superficial, somewhere there is a lack of vulnerability. So that means I'm not ready to open up to another person. And the reason I'm not able to open up is because I feel somewhere this person doesn't like me, or doesn't respect me, doesn't appreciate me enough. So the greatest need today is the need to be understood. But the need to be understood becomes very, rather, the feeling of being understood becomes very obvious when the person is able to appreciate something you do, or something you say, or the way you are. So understanding and appreciation are interconnected actually. So if I understand a person, then I'm able to appreciate the person, isn't it? So like if I understand you well, one of the things that immediately will come is that I'll be able to appreciate some quality of yours. If I don't understand you, I'll find faults in you.
Correct.
Right? So what I personally feel is foundational for good relationships is to observe people, understand them, and appreciate them. When people feel appreciated, they feel understood, and they feel that you really care for them.
Mm.
So, in the scriptures, there is a very interesting language that is used, and it's a language that is not used today. Most of us have names. All of us have names, sorry. But our names are not connected with who we are, isn't it? Like, say, for example, your name is Ujjwal. But how much of your qualities does the name reflect? Not too many, isn't it? Maybe it reflects one aspect of you.
Correct.
But there are so many more aspects of you, right? So in the scriptures, they have developed a very interesting language of communicating with one another, where a person is being addressed by multiple names. Like when Krishna addresses Arjun, he doesn't always call him Arjun. He calls him so many names. He calls him Sabyasachi, he calls him Parantapa, he calls him so many different names according to the particular situation and the part of the conversation that they are in.
Right.
What stops us from giving people names which are appreciating their qualities? So, when and the same thing with Arjun. When Arjun is addressing Krishna, he's calling out Krishna by so many names. So just by having a conversation and taking each other's names, they're actually adding so much value to each other's lives and the relationship. So they don't have to do an extra effort to build a relationship. See, people love being called by their names, right? And what if I develop a language where I'm calling people not only by their name, but I'm adding a special name to them?
Correct.
Right?
That's a very easy way.
It's just so it has to be a part of our vocabulary.
Yes.
So the way the Vedic culture works is that they have added appreciation in the vocabulary of communication. So for us, if I need to appreciate somebody, I need to put a special effort in appreciating the person because I don't have a vocabulary that supports my appreciation. And therefore, I find English language limited in many ways because I need to find ways in which I can, put that vocabulary in my communication. And therefore, if you can use even your local languages, most Indian languages allow that actually. Most Indian, and I'm sure languages around the world also allow that. If you can build in appreciation within our communication and on a day-to-day basis, if every single day we find one person that we can appreciate, just one person. It takes 30 seconds to appreciate a person, genuinely. And that one appreciation on a daily basis, if done cumulatively over years, it will create so much of goodwill in your life. It will create so much of powerful relationships in your life.
Absolutely right, Prabhuji. But Prabhuji, like wonderfully said, when it comes to relations, I'll keep it in mind. One person to appreciate. And like when it comes to work, Prabhuji, taking your point further, sometimes this appreciation is not freely flowing. Like sadly, yesterday I saw a video of somebody on Twitter where on Zoom meeting, a particular senior is bashing his junior. And such kind of videos go very viral. So like this kind of appreciation, this kind of friendliness is not easily accessible in workplaces and work cultures where people work in big organizations. And so, Prabhuji, how is it possible, or is it possible to so simply and so easily apply the concept of spirituality and of friendliness in this work cultures?
See, in my understanding, there are two types of leaders. There are leaders who are after numbers, and then there are leaders who are after people. Most leaders who are after numbers don't care for people, and most leaders who are after people don't care for numbers, and both become ineffective at some point. So if you don't care for people and you only care for numbers, at some point people will stop responding. So people will stop contributing the way they can. And if you're only interested in people but you're not bothered about numbers, then people will take you for granted. People will kind of feel that this guy is can be fooled around. So I feel the mid path is the right way. Numbers are important, but people get you numbers, and therefore people are more important. So if leadership can understand the balance between the two, for me to achieve my numbers, I need to invest in people who are going to get those numbers. And when I invest in people, it doesn't mean that it's not a lovey-dovey thing. Basically, it's not a soft, just emotional roller coaster. When investing in people means helping people grow. So when you are inspiring people to grow, their growth means numbers, isn't it? So I feel that leaders should focus on people, but they should focus on people's growth. And people love those who focus on their growth, who invest in their growth. Very few leaders actually invest in other people's growth. Most leaders are investing in their own growth.
Right.
But when you have leaders that are investing in other people's growth, people are actually interested in them. So it's a reciprocal thing. So you will always find, let's say, for example, in the Mahabharata, Duryodhana was a fantastic manager. From a talent point of view and from his creative ability to deal with managerial issues is concerned, he was much better than the Pandavas probably. But what he forgot that he was managing not a kingdom, but he was managing a kingdom filled with people. So he didn't bother about what people want. He bothered about what he wants. So the Pandavas, they lived with people. And that was the beauty of the difference between the Pandavas and the Kauravas. The Kauravas lived in the palaces. And from palaces, sometimes your sight of common man's problems is very, very limited. So most leaders live in AC cabins, basically, glass cabins. And from those glass cabins, they can't understand what people actually were experiencing on the ground. And therefore, the Pandavas became famous and popular because they were on the ground with people. They were moving around the kingdom. They were eating in people's houses. They were actually connecting with people on the ground. And because they spent so much of their time connecting with people on the ground, people were ready to do anything for them. People loved them. So I personally feel that every leader has to invest time and energy in trying to connect with people on the ground level. And when the leader does that, that's when people say, this person is investing so much in me, I'll do anything for him. And then numbers come. So one is a shortcut where you want numbers now. So I push people like anything and say all kind of harsh words and get work done. The work will get done today. Tomorrow you have to do it again. And the problem with harshness is that the same level of harshness doesn't work every time. You have to increase the level of harshness. Beyond a certain point, people break down. People can't handle it and they walk away. And therefore, there was a survey done in the UK. 65% of people, employees in the UK, had fantasies of killing their boss. Imagine 65% people had fantasies of murdering their boss. So if you are living in such an environment, how is that energy going to affect you as a leader? It's a very disturbing energy, right? How will you be creative with that kind of energy? And therefore, leaders have to start reevaluating the way they look at leadership, and stop looking at it from the point of view of numbers, and start looking at it from the point of view of people and their growth, which will eventually get them numbers.
Wonderful answer. That survey kind of shocked me also. You mentioned in the last point that harshness has to be there, but it has to be in a limit. It has to be measurable, not beyond a limit, not beneath a limit. But Prabhuji, when the provocations tend to move a lot, when they happen a lot in work cultures or even otherwise, even in modern home kind of an environment or an office environment, how can one handle provocations? Like, is there some example which you can say where, you know, remembering that example, I might think, okay, my provocation is happening, but this is how I can control it. Because the provocations, taking a step further, even social media, people would engage in fights with literally anyone in the comment section. Comment section is filled with people who fight with each other, bicker with each other. So how can provocations be handled? What can be done to handle them?
There are three styles of handling provocation. The first style is there's a fish which is known as a hagfish. So when a predator comes to the hagfish, it spits out some slimy substance and it shoos the predator away. This is called verbal abuse. So there are some people who prefer this. That means the moment somebody tries to attack them, they spit out something from their mouth and it shoos away the person. The second way in which people handle provocation is like an electric eel. The electric eel, when somebody tries to attack the electric eel, it sends an electric shock out. This is known as physical abuse. If somebody tries to provoke you, give them one tight slap, they'll run away. The third way in which people handle provocation, which is a more common way, is like an exploding ant. There's an ant called an exploding ant. The moment it gets stressed, it blasts, it explodes, and commits suicide. It dies, basically. So a lot of people in this world, when they go through stress and provocations from outside, they just can't handle it and they break down, basically. But there's a fourth way of handling provocation, which is a more sensible way. The first three ways are not exactly the most sensible ways of handling provocation. The fourth way is like a tortoise. So the moment somebody tries to attack the tortoise, it goes into its shell. And inside its shell, it is calm and cool. Nobody can harm it, nobody can damage it, nobody can disturb it. And when the provocation is not there, it comes out and it lives its life. Similarly, all of us have to create a protective shell for ourselves where we feel safe, where we feel we don't have to succumb to that provocation. So when somebody tries to provoke us, our behavior is not the best. And that bad behavior disturbs us first, more than anything else. And the decisions that are taken with that bad behavior obviously are going to be wrong decisions. And therefore, we need to find mechanisms in which we can become calm ourselves. There's a beautiful story from the Bhagavad Puran which talks about how different people handle provocations in different ways. Bhrigu once went to test different gods and see their ability to handle provocations. He went to Brahma, and Brahma was Bhrigu's father. And Bhrigu did not pay obeisances to him. He treated him in a very cold way. Brahma got very angry seeing his son so disbehaved, basically. But Brahma didn't say anything. But in his eyes, Bhrigu saw anger. So Bhrigu realized this person is not able to handle his anger well. He's losing his composure, though not speaking anything, but his body language and his gestures, this is called non-verbal communication, is very obvious. So he walked away from there and went to Shiva. And Lord Shiva, he was Bhrigu's brother. And Shiva saw Bhrigu after a long period of time. He came running to embrace Bhrigu. Bhrigu told him, "Hey, don't touch me. You have ashes all over your body. We're living in crematoriums. I don't want to touch you." Shiva got really upset because it was a verbal abuse. So in the first case of Brahma, it was a mental offense. It means he only didn't pay respects. But in case of Shiva, he actually spoke bad words, bad things. So the level of abuse was like on a higher side, or the level of offense was on a higher side. Shiva got so disturbed. He took his Trishul and came running to kill Bhrigu. Somehow Parvati stopped him. Bhrigu realized this person got very angry. And he walked to Lord Vishnu. And he went to Vaikuntha, where Vishnu was lying on his snake bed. Bhrigu straight away went and kicked him on his chest. This is the third level of offense, which is known as physical offense. So Brahma was mental offense, Shiva was verbal offense, but Vishnu was physical offense. Kicked him. And the moment Bhrigu kicked Vishnu on his chest, Lord Vishnu got up from his seat and he made Bhrigu sit down on a snake bed. And he started massaging his feet. And Vishnu started telling Bhrigu, "Oh my sage, your feet are so soft, but my chest is so hard. I think your feet must be hurt. Let me massage it." Bhrigu was zapped. he was just amazed because he was going and provoking, all of them. He was personally, they were not behaving back to him. He was going and provoking them just to see how they react. Everybody in this world will come across people who are provokers, who are going to provoke you just to see how you react. And when they test you, don't think it's about you. A lot of times it is about them because they are insecure. And so, most bullies, when they try to bully somebody else, they are only trying to assure themselves that they are strong. It is not about that person, it is about the bully himself. So, when somebody is trying to provoke you, it is not about you, it is about the person. So, the more you get provoked, the person gets convinced that I am strong. I can provoke anybody, I can bully anybody, I can get anybody to react the way I want. And the worst thing that a person who is coming to provoke you wants is calmness. If a bully comes across a calm person, he doesn't know what to do. He gets disturbed, he gets very paranoid. So, the best way that you can protect yourself from all kinds of provocations is be calm. Just be calm and talk to yourself. So, just like the tortoise goes into its shell and it has a conversation with itself. So, we all need to have like that shell, protective shell for ourselves, into which we go and we talk to ourselves. And in that discussion with your inner self, you need to reassure that everything is okay. You don't need to worry. You don't need to panic. Because the natural reaction when a human being panics, or rather any animal panics, is you get into an emergency mode. And in an emergency mode, what you do is not necessarily logical, is not necessarily something that you will be proud of. So, therefore, getting into the shell simply means getting into a mode which we call as a Zen mode, a calmness, stillness, and then provocations won't affect you as much.
Thank you, Prabhuji. That's a wonderful answer. I had a lot of eye-opening moments while you were answering to me that. And one thing which I can definitely say has helped me become a lot calmer and more peaceful and a lot stronger over the last 1 year or so is something which I feel you are deeply related with, and you've also written a book on, which is the Hanuman Chalisa. So, Prabhuji, I feel really happy that nowadays youth and young people and so many, even kids for that matter, they are taking interest in Hanumanji. They are becoming devotional towards Hanumanji, and like Hanumanji is now finally getting the recognition which he was deprived of for so many years. So I wanted to ask about Hanuman Chalisa specifically. Like, what is Hanuman Chalisa exactly, and what is the right way to recite it or to sing it or to do its uchcharan? How can it be done?
I personally feel Hanuman Chalisa is a prayer glorifying one of the greatest devotees of Lord Rama. And Tulsidas ji recited the Hanuman Chalisa during a time of personal crisis. So Hanumanji, his approach towards life is very interesting. He tells people, you don't disturb Ram. If you need anything, ask me. I'll take care of you. Don't disturb Ram for small things, small problems that you face, small worries that you have. I'm there for that. So that's the mood of Hanumanji. So when he's in that mood and you approach him for a particular problem that you have in your life, a particular situation in your life, Hanumanji is definitely going to be there to resolve it. That's his vow, that's his service, that's his dedication basically. So I personally feel Hanuman Chalisa is a prayer that is a prayer of protection. It is a prayer which is a prayer of glorification and is a prayer which is a prayer of request. So whenever you want to ask someone something, the first thing you do is glorify them for their good qualities. Whenever you glorify anyone for their good qualities, there's a nice smile. That person becomes a little more open to having a conversation with you, isn't it? So the acharyas always teach us that whenever you are offering prayers, first glorify. And therefore Tulsidas ji profusely glorifies Hanumanji's so many qualities. And when you offer that prayer and you glorify Hanumanji from your heart, then Hanumanji is open to a beautiful conversation with you. And he's already pleased with you. and he'll ask you what do you want. Then you make a request. Then you make a request. And at the end, you offer a prayer for strength for yourself. So basically, prayers are not only meant for making requests saying that, give me this. Prayer also is a opportunity, is rather it's a way of requesting help to become stronger. So I'm not doing a business deal with Hanumanji by offering Hanuman Chalisa or reciting Hanuman. That's not the way it should be. It's not, a lot of people do it in such a ritualistic manner. If I do 11 times, then this will happen to me. If I do 108 times, then this will happen to me. That's not the purpose for which we do. That what happens to you can be a side effect, can be a fringe benefit. But that shouldn't be the reason that drives you towards offering these prayers. The primary reason should be glorification. The middle, somewhere, there's a request. And then there is a actually supplication or a request for becoming stronger. The more spirituality actually makes you self-sufficient. Ideally, it should make you self-sufficient. But if spirituality makes you constantly dependent on others, it's actually a weak form of spirituality. So yes, today I may be weak, so I'm seeking help. But I don't want to be weak all the time. I eventually want to get to a point of strength where I can take care of my own problems. And I approach God only for love, only for a relationship, only for connection, basically. So Hanuman Chalisa is that transition prayer where you are right now weak, but you want to get strong. So it's a transition from a weak stage to a strong stage. So it's a transition from right now seeking help to eventually connecting with God for serving Him, for praying to Him from a relationship point of view. So Hanuman Chalisa is a prayer that should be chanted so that you develop your relationship with Hanumanji, and from that relationship you derive great strength in yourself. And with that strength, you can take care of all your problems yourself. And then eventually go to God only out of pure love.
Right. Thank you, Prabhuji. So there's this just one final question before we wrap it up. I've heard this saying which says that Ram se bada hai Ram ka naam. So the name of the Lord is even greater than the Lord himself. And that is why Hanumanji chants the name of God so many times. And there is this one specific verse in Hanuman Chalisa which also says that Ram rasayan tumre pasa sada raho raghupati ke dasa. So, like, how exactly can the name of God just by chanting, like many people ask this, कि chanting करने से क्या होगा, नाम लेने से क्या होगा? What is the point? So then, what is the benefit of chanting exactly? There's this one particular story. I think you would be knowing it better than anyone. So, like, how important is chanting the name of the God? Really is, if you can say.
So, Ram Nam is a very powerful mantra, which has so many benefits. But primarily, the name of Ram offers you bliss. Rama, the word Rama means the one who has great, one who is a giver of pleasure, the reservoir of pleasure. So anybody who chants the name of Ram must experience bliss. Many times when we go through problems in our life, we are not able to relish Ram Nam with joy. And that's where Hanumanji comes in picture. As I said, in Hanuman is telling us, all your problems I'll take care. You love God, love Ram, that's all. So here's a story about how he does that. There was a king who was a very, very wonderful king. One day Narad Muni happened to visit his kingdom. And he told this king that go to meet Lord Ram. But when you go there in the court, you'll find Vishwamitra Muni standing there. Don't pay obeisances to him. You pay obeisances to Ram and everybody else, but avoid looking at Vishwamitra Muni also. So this king, he goes there and he offers obeisances to Ram. He's talking to Ram. Completely neglects Vishwamitra Muni purposely. And Vishwamitra Muni is getting angry, and the king can feel that anger. But he still just follows Narada Muni's instruction. And eventually, the Vishwamitra Muni gets so upset. When the king leaves, he tells Ram, "What is this? You're my disciple. You saw me being insulted by this king. You have to take action now." So Lord Ram takes out 3 arrows from his quiver, and he tells Vishwamitra Muni, "By sunset, I'll kill the king with these 3 arrows." So now the king gets this news that Ram has taken this vow. And Ram's vows are powerful, isn't it? If he says something, he'll do it. So the king is scared. He runs to Narad Muni and he tells him that, what is this? I did what you told me, but I'm in big trouble for that. And the king tells him, you only have to save me now. Narad Muni tells him, don't worry. Go to Anjana, the mother of Hanumanji, and ask her for help. So the king rushes to Anjana, he begs her help. He doesn't say the name of Ram. He says, somebody has taken a vow to kill me by sunset. Please protect me. So Anjana, she calls her son Hanumanji and tells Hanumanji, your duty is to take care of this king. Protect him from all calamities. So Hanumanji says yes, and then he goes with the king. Then the king tells him the actual problem. Hanumanji is in anxiety because how can he protect someone that Ram has decided to kill? So, but Hanumanji has already given a vow to his mother, so he decides I need to do something now. So he thinks about it and comes up with a plan. He tells the king, go into the Sarayu river and stay neck deep in the river and constantly chant the name of Ram. So this king, he understands that he has no other option but the holy name of Ram. Very intensely, with all his focus, he starts chanting the name of Ram. And sunset, Ram sends the first arrow. And the arrow is coming very, very fast towards the neck of the king. Just when the arrow is about to, chop off the head of the king, Hanumanji catches hold of the arrow, breaks it. Ram sends the second arrow. Hanumanji again catches it and breaks it. Ram sends the third arrow. For the first time in the life of Ram, his arrows have been ineffective. And Ram gets wild. He comes all the way to find out who is this person who has broken my arrows. Then he sees Hanumanji standing there. He gets angry at Hanuman. He says, how dare you break my arrows? You're supposed to be my servant. What is this? Hanumanji says, my dear Lord, this king is constantly chanting your names. And I am responsible for protecting anyone who's chanting your names. And because if this king dies with your arrows while chanting your names will be insulted. Nobody will ever chant your names. Therefore, I have taken the responsibility to protect this king because he's chanting your holy name. And in that, so Ram is a little confused. He doesn't know what to say. And in that time, Narad Muni comes there, along with Vishwamitra Muni, all of them. Narad Muni tells the king, fall at Vishwamitra's feet. The king runs and falls at the feet of Vishwamitra Muni. Vishwamitra Muni forgives him and tells Ram to forgive him also. In this story, we see this very, very powerful element of Ram Naam being there. In fact, in this story, Ram Naam is more powerful than Ram himself. And Ram Naam is so powerful that chanting the name of Ram is personally protected by Hanumanji. And therefore, I personally feel that Ram Naam, along with Hanumanji's glorification together, is a very powerful combination. So when we glorify Hanumanji, he will give us inspiration to chant Ram Naam. And when we chant Ram Naam, we appreciate and glorify Lord Ram's name, he will give us the inspiration to connect with Hanumanji again. So you cannot connect with Hanumanji and not connect with Ram. You cannot connect with Ram and not connect with Hanumanji. They're both interconnected with each other. And that combination is powerful, very deadly, and a wonderful meditation.
Thank you, Prabhuji. On that note, we say Jai Shri Ram
Jai Shri Ram.
And conclude this podcast. Thank you so much, Prabhuji, for such a lovely podcast, for such lovely insights. I'm deeply indebted, and I'm sure the viewers also will be benefited.
Thank you very much. Very happy and honored to be here, Ujjwal. What you're doing is so beautiful and so amazing. You're helping hundreds and thousands of people connect with dharmic traditions through your beautiful narrations. And I think it's so important that the world, gets good quality content on social media rather than just junk. Thank you very much for
Credit goes to my parents, Prabhuji, my mother especially. And thank you for all the books you write. What I share is from your books and from the content you share. So I'm just the medium. You are the ultimate source.
Absolutely. I'm also not the source. Ultimate source is God. We're all mediums in which we can share.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
सो थैंक यू गाइज ये पॉडकास्ट देखने के लिए. आई एम श्योर आपको इससे कुछ ना कुछ सीखने को मिला ही होगा. कुछ ना कुछ नहीं तो थोड़ा बहुत सीखा होगा आपने. वो आई एम श्योर आप अगर आपकी लाइफ में अप्लाई करोगे आपको थोड़ा सा बेनिफिट तो दिखेगा ही. हाँ, ऐसे और पॉडकास्ट आते रहेंगे. आपको क्या लगा इसके बारे में, आपने क्या सीखा, कमेंट्स में ज़रूर बताइए. और किन लोगों को आप पॉडकास्ट के ऊपर देखना चाहोगे उनके बारे में भी बताइए कमेंट्स में, सो दैट उनके साथ भी बातचीत हो सके आने वाले टाइम में. सो ऐसे पॉडकास्ट आते रहेंगे. आपने कुछ नया सीखा, कुछ नया जाना, या फिर आपको कुछ अच्छा नहीं लगा या फिर कुछ बेहतर हो सकता था, इंप्रूवमेंट्स, सजेशंस, फीडबैक सब कुछ कमेंट्स में डालिए सो दैट मुझे भी पता चले कि मैं क्या कर रहा हूँ. एंड ऑन दैट नोट चैनल को सब्सक्राइब भी कर दो ऐसे और पॉडकास्ट और ऐसे और वीडियोज़ के लिए. एंड विद दैट आई से जय श्री राम. थैंक यू सो मच.